America compared. Why other countries treat their people so much better.
This is going to be very interesting to see. We are Americans ourselves, and we have lived in the country for our child days and some part of our adult life as well.
Back in our child days.
Our child days. That's what they always say, the child days.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I started to realize that the United States, the richest, bestest country in the entire world, like we were told our whole lives. At some point, I would say in my teenage years, end of high school, I started to realize, wait, why do some of these countries seem like their quality of life is so much higher than here, the bestest country in the entire world?
Yeah, everyone talks about the American dream, all these huge numbers of their economy and stuff, but maybe things aren't as good as they seem. Let's see what this video has to say.
Here we go.
This episode and others like it are made possible by the generous support of my patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to help me make more content like this, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/secondthought. I'm going to say something that will probably offend many of my viewers. Let me preface this by saying that I, as an American, include myself in the following statement. Americans are quite possibly the most willfully ignorant people on the face of the planet. We have access to the sum total of all human knowledge, yet our understanding of the world rarely extends beyond our own country. And even then, the majority of Americans believe in a vision of the country that does not actually exist.
These videos.
It's not that we're stupid, we just tend to blindly accept that the US is the greatest place on Earth, and therefore don't see any reason to educate ourselves about the realities of the rest of the world. In this episode, we're going to pull back the curtain on how America actually compares to other countries, and consider why the richest country on Earth fails to treat its people with dignity and fairness.
The fact that some people's response to this, if you start pointing at things, is, if you don't like it, then leave. That tells you all you need to know.
Yeah, they don't want any criticism.
Nope. If you don't like it, leave.
To provide a list of important topics, then for each item we'll compare the American experience with that of citizens from other nations. Hopefully by providing a side-by-side comparison, you'll be able to see the stark contrast between how most Americans see their country and how it really stacks up against the competition. To give you an idea of just how skewed the American perception of our country really is, let's start with a pretty shocking example. Compensation for what are considered low-skilled jobs. We'll take the quintessential American company, McDonald's. McDonald's is the world's largest restaurant chain by revenue. It operates in over 100 countries and serves over 69 million customers every day. As of 2018, McDonald's was the second largest private employer, with 1.7 million employees, behind Walmart's 2.3 million. How many times have you heard someone refer to McDonald's jobs or workers in a derogatory manner?
Always.
For some reason, people who work at McDonald's are seen as inferior or lazy or have any number of other unfair and unkind assessments leveled at them. This probably stems from the old notion of flipping burgers being a job anyone can perform. But the animosity towards low-wage workers has grown significantly in the past few decades. And in America, McDonald's workers really do suffer a low wage. As of 2020, the average crew member at McDonald's makes $9 per hour. The average McDonald's cashier makes $8 per hour. The federal minimum wage in the United States is $7.25, a rate which has not been raised in over a decade, and which should not be considered a reasonable wage for
a lot of these people might have families even too. Imagine having a 4-person family and you're making $8 an hour.
You go to McDonald's and there's a lot of middle-aged people working there. It's not just teenagers like everybody says. I mean, a lot of people in the United States will be like, well, they don't need any more money because only teenagers work there. But then you say, oh, I didn't realize McDonald's closed during school hours.
Yeah. And also, what's wrong with a teenager making money? They're about to go to college and spend $100,000 when they...
Don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. Come on. Anybody can go to college for free because there's grants. Come on.
Yes, and I mean, you can just have rich parents, too, that'll pay for it.
Easy. But, I mean, it's pretty crazy just that $8 an hour. Does this give you flashbacks to when you used to work at McDonald's?
Yeah. The employees were very interesting. I will say that though.
Did it seem like the lowest rung of society?
About half of them, and then the other half were
hardworking people.
Hardworking people that will probably quit that job in about 3 months.
Makes sense.
Considering the fact that a full-time minimum wage worker cannot afford to rent a 2-bedroom apartment anywhere in the United States, and can't afford a 1-bedroom apartment in over 95% of U.S. counties.
Wow.
Now, the all-too common response to data like this is something like, well, yeah, it's not a hard job. You should just find a better one. Here's a simple question. Should any job, regardless of technical skill required, pay workers so little that they cannot afford to rent even the smallest place to live? Not to mention other necessities like utilities, food, and medicine.
Also,
Absolutely
in the
not.
US, that's a big thing now that everyone's complaining, nobody wants to work anymore. They don't have enough workers at fast food restaurants anymore. But then also their response is, well, go work somewhere better. How does that work? Everyone just went and got something better, obviously.
The solution to making people want to work somewhere is giving them some decent pay and benefits.
Yeah, they'd never have a shortage of workers if they just gave them more money.
That is inhumane and cruel, especially coming from the second largest employer in the richest country on the planet. Other notable objections include McDonald's has to make a profit. If they pay their workers more, they might go out of business. First of all,
no.
If you can't pay your workers a fair wage, your company should not be in business.
Yep.
End of story. But again, McDonald's is not struggling to make ends meet. In 2019, McDonald's raked in $21 billion in revenue. But no matter how obvious the exploitation of low-wage workers, Americans are hell-bent on praising the very companies doing the exploiting. Take this article on Reader's Digest, for example. It's titled, "This is what McDonald's workers really get paid." You see that and think, oh, nice. Finally some news showing how poorly these workers are compensated. Then you scroll down and nope, they're actually praising McDonald's, saying things like, the food chain is also great for paying their workers fairly, and McDonald's is one of the highest paying fast food chains in the United States. This level of sycophancy is insane. If $8 or $9 an hour is some of the highest pay in the industry, that doesn't indicate that McDonald's is paying fairly, it indicates that a massive chunk of the population is being paid poverty wages. This is where taking an international perspective is so critical. If all you see is feel-good stories about how well McDonald's workers are paid, you'll never know how badly American workers are actually being treated. Let's take the same company, the same position, but in a different country. Here's a McDonald's in Denmark. The average McDonald's worker in Denmark, for doing the same low-skill job, makes $22 per hour.
Wow.
Well, hold on, you hear Reader's Digest scream from across the Atlantic. McDonald's workers in America get paid vacation days after just a year of work. Wow. Enticing.
Just a year?
In Denmark, when you're hired at McDonald's, not only are you making nearly 3 times what you would make in an American Mickey D's, you also instantly have access to a full year of paid family leave and a pension. No slaving away for a year to prove
Also,
your
the
value
cost
to
of
the
living would be
company.
lower
You're hired
in
and you're
Denmark.
treated fairly.
Yeah, you would think. Because the U.S. cost of living is so high now. It's getting to the point where it's much higher than those countries that have so many more benefits to living there.
Yeah. I mean, how much is a dang carton of eggs in Denmark right now?
No, don't talk about the eggs.
Sorry.
Donald said he's bringing them down. It'll just take some time. Elon's got to do his business.
Things got to go up before they can go down.
Thank you, Elon.
Simple as that. McDonald's can afford to compensate all their workers like this, but they won't, because U.S. laws allow them to exploit American workers to the point where they're basically slaves, earning the bare minimum to survive, paying all of their income and often going into debt just to pay rent, and having no way to escape this vicious cycle because they're working such long hours. This is the case across all of America's low-wage jobs, of which there are many. The plight of the low-wage worker is incredibly dire. And all you have to do to understand that is look at how those same workers are treated in other wealthy countries. Let's move on to another topic, work-life balance. Fair wages are definitely part of this equation. If you're paid fairly, you don't need to work a second job, which will free up your time to be spent elsewhere. But we're going to focus on...
Anybody watching this video, have you ever had to work a second job in your life or to like make ends meet or anything? Let us know.
Other metrics.
We know quite a few people have worked 2 jobs before in the U.S. Quite a few people.
Yes.
It's very common.
The length of the work week, vacation time, and parental leave. Let's start with the US. Most Americans would say that 40 hours per week is full-time. That seems to be the general consensus. But, in keeping with the country's exploitative labor practices, the hilariously named Fair Labor Standards Act does not actually define what qualifies as full-time. That's left up to the employer. Okay, why does this matter? Well, think of your past part-time jobs. Did you get any benefits? Healthcare, 401k? Probably not. Most benefits, when they're offered at all, are reserved for full-time employees. Companies...
Yes, that is interesting. I worked a lot of part-time jobs, and they would only reserve those benefits for if you worked 40 hours a week full-time. But then there were times where I'd get close to working 40 hours a week. Like, I'd be 38, 30-something, and it's like, okay, you're just going to continue to exploit me as much as you can then without giving me the benefits of the full-time worker.
And then... working all those hours for however long you work there, like probably pretty long, right? How many months did you work there?
I mean, at different places, I would say a year to
How long at Nike would you say?
maybe 9 months, something like
So
that.
9 months. He was working sometimes 38 hours a week. He wanted 4 weeks off for a vacation, and he was like, oh, "Yeah, I'll be back after 4 weeks." They wouldn't give it to him.
Even unpaid time.
Part-time worker wouldn't give it to him. So there you go. And I bet they preached that you guys were just a big family the whole
yeah,
time.
they got that. They got that family mindset.
Oh man.
Don't want to provide benefits because they affect their bottom line. America is all about cutting costs, and providing workers with fair compensation is a cost. So, imagine you apply for a full-time job at Best Buy. You're offered the job, but they tell you they only have part-time positions, but they can give you almost full-time. They make it sound like they're doing you a favor, offering you more hours than normal part-time. But this is just another example of employers exploiting their workers. If you work 37 hours per week, you're essentially a full-time employee, but they don't have to provide you any sort of benefits. No healthcare, no vacation, nothing. This is a common practice. Companies will hire people, but keep them just below the threshold for full-time to avoid providing fair compensation. I've seen it happen. I used to work at Best Buy and they would do it all the time. And that's just the companies who are still trying to appear generous. Others will simply not offer benefits at all, or set their full-time positions at 50 or 60 hours per week. Sales positions are notorious for this. They'll often say, well, we expect you to work 40 hours, but all the top sellers are working 60 to 70 hours per week. This is coercion. They're trying to pressure you.
That's illegal in some European countries. Like, I'm pretty sure, I don't know which ones are exactly, but I'm pretty sure some European countries have like a max amount of hours you can work in a week.
I mean, it does really, you get to the point where sometimes if you're working 2 shifts in a row that are super long, you can't even get a recommended amount of sleep for your health. And you don't even get to like eat a decent meal in between.
You're helping out your family.
True.
Your family that at any point they can just annihilate you from the workforce. They can be like, sorry, we don't need you anymore.
We appreciate your contribution to the company, but we're having to let you go.
At least for you, you still got to keep your benefits card that you got, your deals.
I lost my login, but they were supposed to cut me off from all my benefits and stuff, and they never did.
They forgot you were part of the family.
Into working more hours to benefit them, and the compensation is never what they claim it will be. By allowing employers to define full-time work, American workers are held captive by corporations, forced to either work absurd hours to qualify for full-time benefits or find a second job to help cover the cost of things like health insurance. Both of these options lead to a terrible work-life balance, and as real wages have decreased and benefits have been offered less and less over the years, huge numbers of American workers have developed an unhealthy work-life balance. For example, in 1960, when workers had real bargaining power, only 20% of American women worked. Today, 70% of children live in households where both parents are working full-time. Where does all this lead? As of 2020, over 85% of American men and 66% of women work more than 40 hours per week. We work 137 more hours per year than Japanese workers, 260 more than
Japanese workers are considered like some of the most overworked in the world, and Americans work 137 hours more?
That's 5 days.
Holy nuts.
The British, and 499 more hours per year than the French.
Well, that's just because the French are lazy, obviously.
Yeah, come on.
It's not that they're like getting way more benefits than us and living a higher quality of life. They're just lazy.
I think France was one of those countries that has the like limit on how much you can work a week. That's crazy. And they probably have a good 1 month paid vacation in there too.
500 hours.
I mean, dang, there's people that work for companies for decades and they never get more than 10 days vacation.
And then they'll get laid off at a random time.
It can literally happen whenever. You can be it probably happens quite more than you'd think that people get laid off a few years before they're about to retire.
Yep.
It's terrible.
Hours per year than the French. Why do other countries have such a better balance? Because many of them have laws that cap the length of the full-time work week. Companies are required to pay their workers fairly and allow enough time off for employees to maintain a healthy work-life balance. That's not the case in the US. Vacation time is a similar story. Whereas many other countries mandate that employers provide paid vacation and sick days, the US does not. In every industrialized nation, workers get more paid vacation days and holidays than in the US. Here's a depressing graph to illustrate just how poorly we treat our workers.
Oh, wow.
Wow, United States, 0. Japan even has 10. United States, 0. I mean, that's crazy. Where is like South Korea? South Korea not on here?
I
No.
wonder what they're at.
Theirs might be worse.
There might be worse.
But Japan is one of those countries that when you find out like people are work so hard that they kill themselves consistently, and it's better than the US. Yikes.
France 31, Spain 34, Austria 38, America 0. 0 paid vacation days, 0 paid holidays. And remember, these are the mandated figures. Every Austrian
And
worker...
remember also, there was a candidate in 2016 and 2020 who ran on this stuff that workers should have paid vacation days guaranteed by the government. And people said, how the heck are we going to have that?
Who's going to pay for that? I don't want to pay more taxes.
We're living in fairy tale land here. Every other country is just living in fairy tale land, I guess.
Holidays. And remember, these are the mandated figures. Every Austrian worker gets a minimum of 38 paid days off per year. Even in the worst possible employment situation, they'd still get 38 paid days off. In the US, many workers are lucky to get Christmas or Thanksgiving off at all. And the odds that it's a paid holiday? Next to 0.
Christmases.
Let's move on to our final comparison.
Me too.
Paid parental leave. Many Americans aren't even aware this is a thing, so let me explain. When an employee of a company has a child, sometimes they're offered parental leave, a period of time where they can stay home from work to bond with and take care of their new baby. This greatly benefits the employee, the child, and, in the long run, the company, because the employee will be happier, less stressed, and more loyal to the company.
That is crazy to imagine that, like, some people, they just have their baby and then they don't have to stress about money for a whole, like, months and months in that time.
Of course, offering paid parental leave doesn't benefit corporations in the short term. And if there's one thing that encapsulates the American business philosophy, it's short-term gains over all else. So it won't surprise you to learn that the US is the only industrialized nation on the planet that does not mandate some amount of paid parental leave. This may be shocking to my American
viewers. What a way to, like, all these countries, all these first world countries nowadays are having so many problems with the birth rate. If the US wasn't bringing in so many immigrants, our birth rate would suck too. And now they're trying to cut down on immigration, and they're not going to change any of these, like, laws with parental leave and stuff. Who's gonna want to have a baby?
Yeah, I said 60% of women, 86% of men were working over 40 hours a week. There's no time to raise a baby.
How are you gonna do it?
Because being able to get paid to spend time with your newborn child sounds like an impossible dream in our dystopian labor market. And honestly, it probably is impossible in our current America. We're so invested in self-destructive capitalism that even suggesting the possibility of paid parental leave would put US politicians out of a job. That's not the case in the rest of the industrialized world. In fact, every other OECD nation, and even in many third world countries, new parents are guaranteed at least several weeks of leave. Let's take a look at a few of them. Ethiopia, a country with an annual gross national income of under $900 per person, offers 90 days of leave with 100% pay.
Ethiopia.
Madagascar, 14 weeks at 100%. Afghanistan, 90 days.
Afghanistan.
Denmark, 52 weeks. Norway, 56 weeks. France, 16 weeks at 100% pay for your first child, up to 26 weeks for your third, on top of 104 unpaid weeks. Lithuania, 52 weeks at 100%, plus an additional 52 weeks at 80%. Again, the United States does not mandate a single day of paid parental leave.
I believe my sister just had a baby, like 5 months ago at this point. I believe she got 6 weeks. 6 weeks leave, and she worked at a hospital, so that should be like relatively good stuff, right? She's in the medical field, and she got 6 weeks, and I think it was only half pay.
What?
Yeah.
6 weeks? Your baby still can't even like do anything on itself, obviously.
And then I think she had the option to take more with no pay. That's insane.
But how are you gonna pay for all the other things that you have to deal with then if you're not?
That's insane. When I was in Sweden, I stayed with my friend's relatives at that point, and one of the women there just had a baby, and she was saying how she had 2 years. She got 2 years of leave, and she could split it between her and her husband.
Yeah, that's nice too. I mean, not having it just be.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
6 weeks, not even full paid, versus 2 years?
That's like not even close.
That's insane.
Even for the mother, and the father is never considered. This means that workers in America have to choose to either pay the exorbitant cost of childcare or have one parent quit their job in order to take care of the child. These are both bad options, which often lead to economic precarity. But that doesn't matter to the companies employing American workers. Profit is the only thing that matters. Hopefully, seeing these labor practices compared like this has made it clear that not only is the US not living up to its claim to being the greatest nation on Earth, but also that it consistently ranks poorly and often dead last in terms of labor metrics. Why is it that the wealthiest, most powerful nation on Earth can't pay their workers a fair wage, or provide healthcare, vacation time, or paid parental leave? You should realize by now that it's not that they can't, it's that they won't. Everything in America is beholden to the almighty dollar. Profit is the only motivator. If an action does not produce a greater profit, it will not be considered. Over the last few decades, Americans have watched as our livelihoods, our quality of life, and our dignity have all been stripped away by those who already make obscene amounts of money. Those in power say we're all in this together, but that couldn't be further from the truth. The ultra-wealthy and the world's largest corporations rely on Americans remaining ignorant. They rely on us accepting the lie that America is the greatest nation on Earth, that it couldn't possibly get any better. All you have to do to shatter that lie is to take a look around the world. Other nations take care of their citizens. Even impoverished nations, or nations that we've bombed into oblivion, take better care of their people than the US does. American workers need to relearn the language of class struggle and work together to break the wheel of the capitalist machine. If we want to claim that the United States is the greatest place on Earth, we need to make it that way.
I don't think it's ever going to happen because the US...
beginning of this video...
The U.S. is so, it's so easy to propagate and fool such a large swath of the population. I mean, Trump he left office 4 years ago with one of the lowest approval ratings ever. And 4 years later, he won again.
It is interesting. In the video, I mentioned that companies will prioritize their short-term gains or whatever, but it's not only that, it's the people too.
Yeah.
No one can believe in a policy that might raise prices for your taxes or whatever, but then it's going to give you more money back because something else happens.
Watch out. That's what Elon Musk is saying right now, that we're going to go through some hard times for a bit, guys, but after it's going to be good.
I sadly don't trust that because anytime there's hard times when it's them, the hard times happen, and then the promise that they bring it back down just doesn't happen. It just
Nope. I mean, look at COVID, the last recession. Somehow all of the mega rich people didn't lose a dime.
They made money. We looked at the dang list of the richest people during COVID. Boom.
And then everybody else is just left in the dumps there. Everyone's hurting more than ever right now. And it's bad. It's only getting worse. Even when the opposition party comes against the Republican Party in the US, they don't do anything. They don't try to go and revert what the Republicans did. They're just okay, we'll just keep it here, guys. It's okay.
There's nothing that you can see that would be oh, change is going to happen.
No, it's not. We had a chance. We had somebody pushing for it, and his own party annihilated him. So I don't think the U.S. is going to go anywhere but down. The empire is falling apart, and the world better hope that it doesn't lash out like other falling empires do.
It's interesting that all these profits that have been mentioned in this video are also used to influence the political candidates. It's almost like the cycle will continue.
It's the scary thing to me, and let me know your thoughts, but it seems like this America right-wing coalition, they're trying to expand it around the world. Elon's putting his money into German nationalist and right-wing groups, UK ones. They're trying to get this big capitalist coalition just to kind of take down all the workers' benefits around the world, which is scary.
They want their tech to be on top.
Resist. Europe, you guys still have a chance. America's toasted.
It's toast.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I bumped you there.
We're screwed. Don't let your ship sink as well.
Don't. A captain doesn't need to go down with its ship. It can find a new ship.
Yeah, we're abandoning ship. I don't want to go back to the United States anymore.
Yeah, me neither.
And we're in the dang Philippines, but we can not work with the horrible working conditions of the Philippines, at least.
Yeah, it seems pretty rough for some of the locals here. Sorry.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next one.